Welcome to the Journey to Your Best Self podcast, brought to you by Your One Self. As always, I'm your host, Brian O'Neill. And as always, my co-host is Andrew Mashokumu. Together, we'll explore the transformative journey of self-discovery and holistic integration. Our purpose is to provide ancient wisdom and evidence-based methods, allowing you to merge your mind, body, and spirit into a harmonious whole. Alongside us today, we are blessed to have Tara O'Neill, a clinical hypnotherapist, certified life coach, and yoga instructor. Let's dive in and embark on this journey. Today on Journey to Your Best Self, we're diving deep into the world of meditation, an ancient practice that holds timeless wisdom and offers modern, measurable benefits. Welcome back to Journey to Your Best Self. I'm Brian O'Neill from Your One Self, and today I'm joined by our resident expert, my sister Tara O'Neill. Hi, Tara.
Hey, Brian. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Let's get right into it. Today we're going to explore the profound impact of meditation, the importance, the what, the why, the how. Just give a little basic 101 overview. Meditation is going to be something that we reference a lot throughout this season and beyond, and we'll be coming back to it to dig in deeper and to get ourselves into more advanced discussions. But for now, this is something that we really want everyone that's involved, all followers, all members of the ecosystem that we're creating, to be knowledgeable and to be practicing. So why don't you tee us off with kind of maybe just a brief history or a definition to bring some clarity, so we're all talking on the same page.
Absolutely. It is a bit of a large topic to talk about. So we will do our best to get across a few really key points. The first thing I like to do is I think we will talk about some of the benefits. I think most people can agree that it has a lot of benefits physiologically. It's been documented in a lot of research, and that's wonderful. In terms of ancient wisdom, humans have been meditating for thousands of years. And so I think, let's agree that we know the benefits. I'd like people to start out with, in the back of their mind throughout this episode, thinking, okay, what is it that I personally want to achieve in my life, or an intention for meditating, right? So instead of having this overall umbrella of, oh, meditation's good for me, I should probably do it, right? Well, often when we put the word should in there, we should all eat a little healthier, we should all work out a little more, we should, right? Well, really seriously take an actual dive into inquiring what it is meditation, you'd like meditation to do for you. And that's a great place to start. So thinking of meditation as allowing the mind to bring inner peace, to quiet the mind, to calm our thoughts, to let go of some of the thoughts, to detach from some of our thoughts. And we'll just start with a very basic distinguishing between two types of meditation. There's guided meditation and there's unguided meditation. Popular now with a lot of these apps, there's guided meditation, and that's where there's somebody that's telling you what to do. So they might be cueing you. For example, we did the box breathing, where we were explaining the box breathing. I was guiding 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be a guided meditation. And so hypnosis, a guided meditation, because I'm guiding the other person through. Often in a yoga studio, at the end, there's a brief guided relaxation, which is a guided meditation. So just very simply, guided meaning there's someone else involved that's helping you attain that state of calmness. And then an unguided meditation is you're sitting there. It's self-guided. You're doing it yourself, whether or not, using whatever modality, whether there's an inner dialogue or you're using another method. So that is just, let's just make sure we have those two set aside. And Brian, go ahead and tell me if you've ever went through a guided meditation or a self meditation. What's been your experience with it in your life?
Yeah, I have done both. I believe that there have been there you know, at the end of the day, the goals are similar.
Yeah.
So I I do find that it can be helpful to have a guide, so to say, especially when you're starting out, just to kind of give you
Yes.
the guardrails and to kind of encourage you along and just bring you back to center, or especially when you're starting out, and if you have that the doubt in your mind, or you feel a little bit overwhelmed by doing something that you're unfamiliar with. But as you move along, I think it becomes easier to do these things independently. However, there's a place also for guided meditation when you take your meditation to another level, or you try a form that may be a longer duration, or is more purposeful, or is more niche. So there's definitely a place for both.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I will say, people that have trouble just sitting. So often, when we talk about meditation, we'll say sitting, right? And especially in Buddhism, people sit with others. Like, yeah, I've sat with him before. They referring to other people that have done meditations. So I would say that doing a guided meditation is great for beginners. Also great if you are feeling overwhelmed and doing it alone is too much. Also, going to a meditation class or even virtually keeps you accountable. And we're going to also uh, point out a few things that are really important when we're talking about a meditation is consistency. So we'll talk about the importance of consistency, the importance of doing it at the same time, same place every day, consistency. Also, inventory and assessment. That during each meditation, and also long term. So if you're doing it every day, before you meditate, how am I feeling? After you meditate, how are you feeling? You can journal that, you can log that, you could discuss that with somebody. And then maybe after a few days or a week, how did I feel? Did I feel any different this week? Reflecting back on it. So we're collecting data in a sense. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I think that's one of the things that we try um, to maybe not to differentiate, or maybe to point out that a lot of people don't. The idea of pre-assessing and then post-assessing to see the benefits is crucial, and people can kind of get frustrated or lose that consistency when they don't necessarily see any evidence. But in order to see evidence, you need to kind of have that baseline starting point where you're at, and then reassess 20 days in, a month in, 3 months in, 6 months in. So it's critical to kind of to journal or log your progress throughout. And another thing that we're really trying to impress here is not just with episode 9, but every episode almost, we're consistent with our promotion of the importance of consistency, because no matter what strategy, skill, technique, habit, tool, practice that we're sharing or discussing, consistency is a commonality between all of them, because you can't get better at something, or really receive the benefits of it without being consistent and working on it and
Absolutely.
practicing it and making it become a habit. So that's definitely going to be something that you hear us say over and over again.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
let's transition. Go ahead.
I
Let's
just
not
was
transition.
let's not transition yet. in my life, meditation has been the most important thing and the most consistent thing. Other things will come and go and fall off, but often clients will say, well, how often do I have to do this? And I'll say, well, it depends how clean you want your teeth. And they'll be like, what? And it's like, well, it's like brushing your teeth, right? Like, you want to do it every day. You want to make sure it's the health of your brain, right? It's the health of your mind, body, and spirit. It's really going to be the focal point that keeps everything together, is having that sense of that integration.
Absolutely. Let's explore some of we talked about guided and unguided. That's more of the delivery. That's more of kind of the delivery mechanism rather than the kind of type of meditation. So there's a difference there, right? That's just kind of broad way of how you're accomplishing the meditation. Let's talk about some of the different practices. And even though we are kind of specifying, categorizing, organizing them, it's really important to remember that no matter what you do choose overall, right? There's much more sameness than difference, right? The impact with consistency is still going to be there, right? The idea is to cultivate a deeper sense of awareness and inner peace. That's the very achievable goal. And no matter what specific type of meditation you do choose, you're focusing on an object or a thought or activity, and you're going to get a clearer mental state and a calmer, more emotional state. So don't be really overwhelmed by making these choices. Whatever one feels better for you, just go with it. So can you kind of touch on some of the more popular ones that we see in culture and that we think are going to be accessible to our followers?
Absolutely. Yes. And thinking of it as the process and the goal of your intention, and ultimately, let's go over the basics, like you're saying. So there's a mindfulness meditation, and this is really going to get us into the present moment. So you can do this any time of day, being really present in meticulous. If you're, say, doing mindful eating, you are really noticing everything, every motion. You're observing the food, the color, the experience. You're really, maybe you close your eyes when you're chewing. You're really in there. You're not thinking about anything but what you're doing at that time. So, for example, even walking can be a mindfulness meditation if you're not listening to music or talking with someone else. Well, I mean, if you're talking with somebody else in some ways, but I would say if you're doing a walking meditation, notice each step that you take. If you're sitting on a bench, observing the flowers, the trees, listening to the birds chirping, really being where you are in that moment. There are mantra meditations that is going to be involving a word or a phrase that you repeat over and over. This can be really helpful for people that have an overactive mind. Often people will say, well, I can't meditate because I have too many thoughts. And I totally understand that. Like we were saying, there's thousands of thoughts a day. But certain meditations might be better for that person where they're at. And so repeating a word, I am calm, or even just calm, or calm, relaxed, in control is a mantra that I'll often give to people. And that is a great place to start. And they might not need the meditation throughout the mantra throughout the whole meditation, but it's a really great place to get centered, and then they can progress from there. There's the body scan, or a progressive relaxation, that's taking you out of your head and bringing your focus to other parts of your body. So it has a dual benefit. You're getting out of your head, but you're also relaxing different parts of your body. So where your attention goes, the energy flows. So that will be excellent. There's loving kindness. This is wonderful to do heart focused, heart centered meditation. And there's a lot of Buddhist meditations that focus on the heart center. If you've ever heard of heart math, that's a wonderful biofeedback device that you can get to enhance that meditation
Mm.
and actually track your progress. I know we're going to keep reiterating the importance of tracking your progress. And so there are dozens of meditations. You can try a few different, but I would say try a few and then stick to one for 30 days and really
Mm.
assess how you're feeling before and after, and really encourage yourself and reward yourself. Recognize that's a win every time you do it. Reinforce, wow, I'm really proud of myself. Oh, that was amazing. Like I did that. Even if it's for 5 minutes, do it 5 minutes every day for 30 days, and you'll be,
Mm.
you'll build up self-discipline and trust in yourself. So every time that we do something, a habit,
Mm.
or we create a new behavior and we stick to it, we feel much better about ourselves because we have trust in ourselves, as opposed to if we're just constantly trying new things and we're not actually following through. It inhibits a trusting relationship with ourselves. Any other meditations that are popular that that you want to add or ask about? So maybe yoga would be a great example of a moving meditation, right? So when you're doing the physical asana of yoga, you are very present. It is getting you completely out of your head and into your body. And that is one of the many benefits of yoga. And then fun fact, yoga actually, the asana was initially done in order for yogis to sit in meditation for long periods of time. So if you've ever seen them sitting in the lotus position, it's actually very comfortable once you've gotten your body used to that space, that sitting position. And
Yeah,
that's all
absolutely. And
the spiritual aspect of it. Many of us are doing it for the more immediate benefits, but many of us also for the connection to a higher being or something greater than ourselves, which I'll often refer to as the universe or source.
yeah, absolutely. And that, there is an evolution that occurs when, after your first trials and tribulations, to, there's different directions people take and different reasons. There's different whys for why they're meditating. There's, certain people sometimes are going to use, if you're at work, or you're in a certain situation, mindfulness might be more practical than doing a body scan. So there you can eventually incorporate, different, types. Doing ohms in the middle of the workplace could be maybe frowned upon by some of your, colleagues, or, just they kind of vibe in the office. But being mindful during your lunch break could be something that's kind of easier for you to do, right? You can definitely pick and choose as you move forward, but the consistency early on is helpful, and the consistency, throughout is gonna really take this from 5 minutes to 15 to twice a day to doing alternate. In the morning you're doing one type, and then, well, as part of your nighttime routine, you're doing something a little bit different that's maybe more in line with what you need at that time or at that moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, having said that, it's just, well, just try it for 30 days, and you'll
Yeah.
be, of course, there are still, despite our great influence, there are still people that are going to, have questions and be, um, comfortable in, I've gotten this far without meditating. What can it really provide for me, right? There's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of thoughts as we get older. I've made it this far without incorporating this into my lifestyle. Why do I need to even do it? So, there are some questions that I've heard, or kind of pushback that I've heard, that, I want to kind of bounce some of the more common ones that I've
Yeah,
heard
absolutely.
repeated. I guess the biggest one probably is, and this, goes back to kind of our Western rat race. There's only 24 hours in a day society, right? Many people are, the first thing that they say is, well, I just don't have the time to meditate. So how can we address that issue?
Sure, without saying, there is no time or space. And I'm half joking because that's a common almost joke we have in the community, the spiritual community, that it's just a construct. So, haha. So yes, absolutely, I totally get it. We don't have a whole lot of time in this modern world. Like 20 minutes is gold, especially when when you have kids that wake up at 6 a.m. or you are like to a T, your schedule is booked. Though I would challenge you to, again, that 30 days of 20 minutes every morning. I prefer the morning, but you can do it any time of day. I think the morning helps with the consistency. But if you think about it in this way, that 20 minutes, if that is, say you have 10,000 thoughts a day, and if that's helping you cut those thoughts in half, imagine the clarity that you're going to have. Imagine the efficiency you're going to have, the focus, the dedication, the motivation. So you are going to see your time. You're going to see your time increase in many ways. So you have to think of it at like it's a little bit of a perspective shift to say, yes, like I have to, I don't have time for a half hour, to carve this out of my day. But if you think of it, you will get that time back tenfold the more you invest in it. Like you'll see yourself changing and improving and thriving, and your fatigue will likely lessen. Your stress levels will lessen, so everything will begin to shift. And so you are going to get that time back in other ways, immediately and more long term. So you just have to think of it a little bit differently. It's an investment. But it's not
Yeah,
I would say
absolutely. And if
you
it
can't compare it to like
it
20 minutes of playing a
like
video
just
game.
like
It's different.
sure. Yes, because what is the payout going to be when you're doing something that is really just kind of tickling those very basic lizard brain parts, right? Where you're getting like immediate relief and stimuli. That's not going to have like a long-term, long-lasting, tangible benefit.
Right.
But
Oh,
even
exactly.
with meditation, even when you're starting out, if you can't recognize or you're not necessarily connecting to that calm or to that clarity right away, if you're not that in tune with it yet, the payoff is definitely going to be there. And if when you do become in tune with it, you say, I could just 20 minutes, I could just have a drink, or I could just watch a sitcom real quick, or I could just, doom scroll for 20 minutes too. That payoff is not going to, often there's going to be negative,
Yeah.
medium to long term consequences from doing those other things that you could do in this 15, 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's almost like sleep in a way. A lot of times it's like, oh, let me stay up. So, let me stay up that extra hour, or let me, but then next day you're not as locked in, you're not as sharp, you're not as energetic, where as if you had done it, the payoff the next 16 hours during the day is there. So with the
Sure.
meditation, you're just so more in tuned throughout the day. And now correcting all those other aspects of the mind, body, spirit are going to be that much easier too, because you are also changing, you're also more kind of open, you're opening yourself up, right? And you're more self-reflective, and you're looking inward, as well as outwards. Your awareness is so much higher. So even if it's not, a perfect fix for everything, it's going to help you kind of take care of yourself better, because you're definitely going to be more open to possibilities, and it's going to make doing that extra work easier, I think. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, very well said. Yeah, in terms of the brain, you had mentioned the lizard brain.
Mhm.
With meditation, the prefrontal cortex, your executive functions are noted to be improved through a lot of the research studies that we were talking about earlier that you can address a little further. Absolutely. We have to make the conscious choice. And that's why I like the commitment, because it doesn't give, like, you don't get to the point where, well, should I do this or should I not do that? Like, you don't even have to ask yourself. Like, you're just doing it. Like,
Mhm.
with no matter what you commit to, whether it's eating a certain way, going to the gym, or an exercise routine, or something that's beneficial for you. Like, it's best when you don't give yourself that last minute, like, but I'm kind of tired. I don't feel like it. Should I do this? Should I do that? Like, go in saying, like, no, I'm doing this, no matter what. So I really do think that commitment's important. But yes, it's an investment in your health and your mind, body, and spirit. So, in some ways, make it non-negotiable.
Absolutely.
Also,
The
maybe in
second
that,
biggest
while that
Sure.
while that was a little bit, like, intense, it should also be fun, right? And it can be fun. So while you commit to that, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. 20 minutes is ideal in the beginning, but whatever you can do to get you off those first few weeks into a habit, play around with trying other ones. So, you can go to a meditation class, find that app, bring your partner, your friend, and meditate together. So you can, it doesn't have to be like, I want people to look forward to it. Like, what might come up for me this time? Like, oh, I wonder how I'm going to feel. Like, being excited about it is also a nice way. We don't want it to be like, oh, I have to do this. Like, that's not the best mindset either, right? We're thinking of it big picture.
Absolutely. Totally concur. Second most common reason for not getting into meditation that I hear is, maybe it's been the first, I don't know how to meditate. Oh, I don't really know how to do it well.
Sure.
So, what suggestions could you have for all that are involved, but especially for beginners looking to get started and break through?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you think of it in terms of, we have to, the brain as a muscle, and we have to, ease into it. I wouldn't ask somebody to sit in meditation for 2 hours. The same way I wouldn't ask somebody to run, you know, 26.2 miles the second
Mm,
time that they're training for a marathon. We want to work up to it. So saying that you have too many thoughts is like saying, well, I can't go to the gym because I'm not in shape. So I really want people
hmm
to understand that, you know, in some ways we're all beginners, right? Every time we go and we sit, we're going to have those thoughts. Like, the thoughts are always going to be there. And listen to the ancients, and Buddha will say, like, the thoughts are going to be there, right? So it's really the
hmm
relationship that we have with them is what we're working on. So yes, there'll be times where you'll feel like greater ease into it, but I think, we need to understand what meditation is. And sometimes the best way to do that is to put yourself in it, and learn the intricacies of it, be it an app, a book, a class, listening to us and the pointers that we give you. So I understand that there's a lot out there, but again, I think what we're saying is, choose one, practice it for a month, and then reassess, and also dabble in other ones as you're practicing in that one, right? Connect with others that do it, learn from others that have done it for a long time, and say, hey, can you give me some tips? Like, hey, this is where I'm at. Can you suggest where I can go from here?
Awesome. Totally agree, and that's getting the community involved, talking to others that are in the greater Journey to Your Best Self, Yo's community. Um, Calendar.com is definitely going to be helpful as well. I guess the last one before we can move on is kind of like A/B. It just seems very foreign to some people. So sometimes I'll hear from guys that it's maybe more, or this is maybe even the culture talking or the society talking, and it's not as true now as it was. But that A, it's more of a feminine practice, and then B, it's something that's kind of outside of the Judeo-Christian like norms of practice, because there definitely is, when you dig down deep into the more advanced, the pure forms, a spiritual component to it. So how would you address both of those areas of kind of apprehension that some potential meditators have?
Yeah, absolutely. And meditation, I think the reason that there are, we can't, there, maybe people don't agree on a one simple definition is because it can take many forms, right? Prayer can be meditation. Chanting can be meditation, is meditation, I should say. Repeating, scripture, meditation. So these are all types of meditation, and that are you can be found in almost every religious and spiritual tradition and philosophy
Mm,
as well. So you could say dance and singing, right? This is focused attention, and if you're defining meditation as your focused attention, that's going to be a state of meditation. So definitely, self-inquiry as to what does meditation mean for you, and what are your hopes in um, doing meditation. In terms of the who's meditating in our society, being in this community, I'm just overjoyed to see that there's not one, particular demographic, that there are all across the board, all ages, all genders, all nationalities and religions and belief systems that are meditating, and that's nice, because there does not have to be any dogma around it whatsoever. And I do believe
mm,
that a lot of any stigma has really fallen away, or most stigma has fallen away in our modern society. So that is beautiful. And I do, as terms of the masculine and the feminine, coming from Southern California in yoga classes, I mean, sometimes it's just 50-50, right? There's
mm,
really, all women tend to be on the forefront of the yoga advertisement and marketing that's in the West. It's
mm.
definitely, when you go into the studios, like, you'll see um, definitely male presence, all ages. And so, in yoga, and we'll talk about yoga in one of the next episodes that we have, because yogis were males, and women were not generally yogis. Things have changed now, and we'll talk about that in that episode. But it is, if you look to some of the great, well, I shouldn't say great because we're all great, but some of the more traditionally successful people in our society, males,
Mhm,
I would
mhm.
say almost all of them have a practice of meditation. And when I say meditation, again, it's all encompassing of, it could be contemplation, it could be prayer, it could be breath work, could be yoga. So, but I argue 100% across the board. Um, these people in our society, these leaders, the thought leaders, the
Yeah, and not
futurists,
to get
the way showers are going to have that.
mm, yeah, totally, and, that's true. I think that we do have a yeah, I mean, some of the, you know, very best and more renowned, or, however you wanna put it, the achievers, the highest achievers, and those that many look up to. Definitely, I mean, they definitely have consistency, and they definitely, so that they're doing that. That's for sure. And there is a lot of, in the you know the business world and the high achiever world, definitely a lot of that kind of meditation, mindfulness, those moments of peace that they incorporate into their routines. And you see it a lot too, in the highest level of athletics, where there was a big thing during kind of college bowl season, during the Final Four championship. There was, one of the QBs has this kind of routine where he's just kind of being mindful, like right by the goalpost, and initially, if you went back in time, you would think it was kind of, out of place or bizarre or just kind of out of step with the norms of, what an athlete should be doing prepping for a game. But it was one of the things where, his teammates kind of knew that's what he did, and it was encouraged, and everyone could kind of relate to it, and there was like a curiosity about it, and it kind of to teammates and opponents, and in a very positive way. So, and there's also a lot of, I know you had kind of hinted at a yoga episode coming up. There's definitely a lot of that when it comes to treatment of athletes now, and athletes kind of getting away sometimes when they're too focused on the body, right? A lot of these trainers and sports psychologists, encourage them to support themselves and their careers and their field in different ways. And yoga is one of those things that they're doing now to prevent
Sure.
injury, to kind of increase longevity, and just kind of to get balanced. So that's like super, and that kind of goes against these misperceptions that I was talking about, like these alpha males that are doing these practices. So there's definitely, and the community, like you said, and from what you've told me, is super open to one and all to be involved, and age is not even a challenge either. So that's another thing. That's another great thing. You can have I've incorporated mindful moments, and we have, in our school, and that's kind of a big component even in the state, to getting that mindfulness in the classroom. But you can be, an elder that has never done it before, a senior, right, who's totally in their mind out of their element.
Right.
That's one thing that's different than other running a marathon. If you've never ran before, is going to be a challenge when you're 62, but that even can be done. Surfing might be a challenge when you're 64, to start out and just head out to the
Mhm.
Pacific and catch 20-foot wave. Meditation is something that anyone can start up at any time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And anywhere. And that's the beauty of having so many different styles at our fingertips, is that you can
Mhm.
be sitting anywhere, gazing out at the ocean and be doing a meditation. Like, that's a meditative state if you're, clearing your mind and connecting with Mother Nature. Definitely. Our grandmother, how many times a day did she pray? That is a meditation. And she was the
Mm.
most connected person that I knew, one of the most connected that I've ever met to a higher power. So absolutely. And just that's what I would like to, that's what I tell a lot of my older clients, is that to be open to that, even maybe they didn't call it that, but bring that back into their life, because that
Right.
community is really important, and to gathering together, and saying prayers or breathing, or whatever they choose to do. That's very important. It's the power of community in meditation. Doesn't have to be a solo venture. There's a lot of options out there, and I encourage people to start one on your own. Start a meetup, or go to your church or your community center and see who might be interested in a similar venture. And yoga studios are always looking for people that are curious, and it's one of the most welcoming environments that they are open to everyone. So yeah, definitely a lot of options out there. Now let's move on to
Yeah, we had wanted to talk about, that's the ancient wisdom, that's the anecdotal wisdom that we're providing. But what about, is there actually tangible benefits here? Is there research that backs this up? Have studies been done? Can you kind of talk about that, specifically on areas that we're really concerned about? Is there's
Absolutely.
evidence that it can help with stress, concentration, emotional health? What's out there to kind of
Yeah.
be more evidence for the naysayers?
Absolutely. And it is, you had mentioned earlier it being almost a gateway into something greater. And for me, when I first started yoga, I didn't do it for to have a relationship with spirit. I was doing it for emotional and physical health. So let me give you a couple of very basic and bears repeating. Meditation will reduce your stress. It will improve focus and concentration, improve emotional well-being, improve your self-awareness, your understanding of yourself, give you better sleep. It has many physical health benefits. So depending on what it is that you need, and then of course the spiritual growth, whether that's an intention or a nice. So to start out, don't worry about, like I will often say, pick an intention. Okay. So, well, I just went through, if somebody just goes through a breakup, they need a little bit of an emotional, they need some emotional well-being. Meditation would be a great place to start for that. And so they can, maybe that opens the door to something greater. Oh, well, I'm going to maybe go to a meditation class, and maybe they get some community support. Maybe they find some sort of a doctrine or a book that helps them expand their consciousness even more. So really just taking like the little baby steps, and we'll find that we just end up on this path of evolution. And it's just so beautiful. I just absolutely love to see my clients. They take like one step and then one step, and then before you know it, 2 months later, like, wow, I cannot believe like all of the things that have changed and transpired in my life by taking this 20 minutes a day meditation practice. And practice is an important part to remember. It's a practice, right? So we're not looking for perfection. There's not a right way or a wrong way, especially in the beginning. We don't want to be overly hard on ourselves. It's a practice.
Absolutely. Yeah, there have been numerous studies. Prepping looked at some of the big names in the kind of medical health field, but the NIH, National Institute for Health, the APA, American Psychological Association, and so many of the other big universities and organizations have done a ton of studies. And again, some of the tangible benefits that over various studies and focus groups have been lowering blood pressure, reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression, and just great overall health. There's two that I wanted to point out. One study by the Harvard Medical School found that meditation actually led to an increase in gray matter in the brain, which is associated with better memory and emotional regulation, which is amazing. And then another study from Johns Hopkins University, and it wasn't just 40 people, 19,000 medication studies. So it was a meta study, and they found substantial evidence supporting meditation's role in reducing psychological stress. So goals that we have at Bring Your Journey to Your Best Self and Your One Self at TaraLeo.com, these you're going to get benefits, right? They're things that we talk about doing, and this is how you can help yourself. So there's just reason to start meditation.
Right, absolutely. And when we talk about a lot about thoughts, specifically we also want, people might say, well, how do I know if I need to meditate? If you're having repetitive thoughts, if you're having negative thoughts, if you're having looping thoughts, if you're having thoughts that you can't crack or you can't let them go, that's a perfect sign that that's not where we want to be at. Like, that's not the baseline that you want your mind to be at. Yeah, of course, there are going to be times in your life that you're going to be more stressed out, probably. But when you have that catastrophic thinking, or if it's causing anxiety, that is absolutely when meditation should be something that you bring into your life or consider.
All right. So we covered a ton. I guess as we head towards wrapping, someone sees the title, clicks, they're listening. they're fired up, they're ready to go, they want to start meditating tomorrow, 7 o'clock, or right after this episode. Can you just give some kind of practical tips just so someone can get started and have a little confidence going in?
Absolutely. And we will give you a few serenity
Serenity
sessions.
sessions.
Serenity
Oh,
sessions
wow.
to try out. You can, and so what I will often suggest, even people that are like, oh, I want to just try out myself without a guided meditation, maybe do a serenity session for 10 minutes and then take the second 10 minutes, let your mind go back to your focus on your breath. So one of the most common ways to meditate is to focus on the breath, right? So you're taking your attention and you're putting it somewhere. Sometimes people will have a candle, there'll be a candle light when people will stare at a candle and it'll just bring your eyes back to the candle, or a thought of even just the candle. So that's a focus point of attention. Similarly with the mantra, that's keeping your attention on something so the mind doesn't wander and you don't give energy to the thoughts. But that means, okay, so let's back up a little bit. So same time every day, ideally, same place, ideally, because we want to, how we were saying when we were talking about sleep habits the other day, we want your bed to be the place that you sleep, and cue to your subconscious mind that it's time for bed and get you sleepy. Similarly, we want that place that you meditate to cue to your mind that it's time to enter that state of mental clarity, mental calm, and inner peace. So if you can get yourself to have a space, maybe a meditation cushion, but it could be a chair, it can be anywhere. You don't have to overthink it. Maybe you have something that you want, like you could even have an altar. You could have a picture, a crystal, a statue. It doesn't have to be, but if you want to, you could make it so it's a comfortable environment with things that you love. And then that, okay, again, sending cues to your subconscious mind, and then eliminate as many distractions as possible. So if you put the animals in the other room, wait till the kids are off to school or still sleeping, those, preferably that's ideal. And if not, maybe get some noise canceling headphones and put a really, really light music in the background. Something, if it's not a guided meditation, just something very, very calming and peaceful in the background, maybe some, piano, Zen music, whatever it is that you like. So these are some just basics. I mean, maybe some essential oils. Again, none of these are necessary, but they can be helpful in getting you to stick to your routine, and telling people about it, right? Saying, hey, yeah, I have to do this, every morning. I remember I had a client and her husband was, well, I would say, hey, this is what you got to tell your husband, because he was so good on saying, okay, this is what you got to do this morning. You have to do the 20 minutes, this recording, and this morning. So he was so on board with helping her. And I mean, she went from sleeping like 2 hours a night to sleeping 7-8 hours a night in a matter of about
Wow.
2 weeks.
Excellent.
And she admitted, she's like, I'm not great at self-discipline. So that's when you get your loved ones on board, right? Do whatever you got to do. If you need somebody, you need your aunt to call you to wake you up and be like, hey, get on your meditation mat. Like if you need to set your alarm, half hour early, if you have to make a deal with yourself, I cannot have coffee until I meditate. Do what you got to do to get past those first few weeks. And then, you'll be so proud of yourself.
Excellent. That's an incredible way to wrap things up. Thank you for joining us on this discovery into meditation. We hope this episode inspires you to explore this powerful practice and integrate it into your daily life through consistency. You'll get there for sure. Every step towards mindfulness and meditation is a step towards a more balanced and fulfilling. Don't forget to subscribe, share the episode, leave a positive review, leave comments, connect with the greater community. Check us out Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel, where that community also is flourishing. Stay tuned for more insights and tips. That the Serenity sessions that we have lined up are going to be amazingly helpful. The yoga episode that we have coming up soon is going to be really impactful. So, the Your One Self community and bring your Journey to Your Best Self podcast is really where it's at. And the people that have been involved already have been so amazing. So that's why we're building it more and more, because it's growing exponentially. The benefits we see exponentially as well. So youroneself.com and TaraO'Neill.com for additional content and guidance, and a way to stay connected with us. Till next time, I'm Brian O'Neill, wishing you peace, love, and self-discovery.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Tara.
Take care.